Hey everyone, welcome to episode 4 of my podcast, Finance This, Property That, where we're looking to empower financial legacies for generations by providing education from myself and other professionals in the field of finance and property. Today, I have a very special guest. He's an avid TikTok user and my colleague from Emerge Finance, Luke Ashby. One of the reasons I've got him on the show is he's probably one of the most passionate guys I know in the first home buyer space. Also being a first home buyer, he really loves the space and brought him on here to share his knowledge and expertise in the area. Welcome, Luke.
Mate, thank you very much for having me on. I've been a very keen listener of your podcast and it's a pleasure to be on here.
Yeah, no worries. Well, look, firstly, thanks for coming. I know you're busy, just like every other broker in the industry right now. Lots going on. But I'd like to really start with a little bit about you. Just tell us a little bit about your background and also, I know you're an avid AFL player as well, along with the TikTok user, but how's AFL training going?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. It's things are ticking along nicely over at Sandgate Football Club, the Hawks. We're going to look pretty strong across the board, I think. So, footy starts in a couple of weeks' time. So, good times.
Been doing a bit of pre-season.
I have. It's good to get off the office chair and get the body moving, as you know. It's good for everything.
Yeah, you're riding your bike a bit as well, a bit of cross training.
You
get the cafes in the morning.
Yeah. No, it's a great way to start the day, obviously. Get the body moving and the blood pumping. So, recently just bought myself and we've got a heap of bike paths around the place. So, thought it'd be rude not to get myself a bike. So, really enjoying it, mate.
You don't have one of those baskets for your little miniature dog that you eventually get soon?
No, the partner does have a cruiser though, which is, it's great. Get out and do that,
Yeah, no batteries on that cruiser, can't catch on fire.
No, mate, no. She's completely human-operated, powered.
Look, you just mentioned you bought your first place. How was that going? You all settled in?
Yeah, good, mate, good. We settled in December and don't recommend. It's a very busy time of the year with, Christmas thrown in amongst that. So I think we settled a couple of weeks before Chrissy and just busy time of the year, but it's a bit of a construction site at the moment, doing some renovations, but no, it's really exciting to have my own place now with my partner Caitlin and be able to customise things and put things up on the wall and it's awesome
without people telling you where to put holes and stuff like that when you're renting,
exactly.
Right?
Don't have to ask anyone. So
cool. And obviously, you're being a first-time buyer. You're in that space. What motivated you to become a broker, and why are you so passionate about the first-home buyer space?
Yeah, mate, I am very passionate in this space. As you know, there's not a lot of education around buying a home and financial literacy in general. It doesn't get taught in school. So, I am super passionate in that space. And, so I guess me jumping into the broker scene, I've been a broker for nearly 4 years now. And prior to that, I was in communications at a communications company. So I did a range of things, internet services for home businesses, did some contracting around Australia, which was awesome. And then also did some TV and security as well. So, I had some people within the industry in Brisbane in finance that I've known for a little bit of time. And I was coming to a bit of a crossroads with what I was doing. I worked on my own all the time and I enjoy being in the team environment and sort of working on your own gets a bit old after a while. And so I'd actually made the switch during COVID. So the pandemic sort of sparked that. The couple of people within the industry that I knew quite well said, if you're ever thinking of a career change, I think a broker, as being a mortgage broker, be a great fit. When COVID hit, took some time out from what I was doing within the business and did some study. And then I was lucky enough to get a couple of opportunities, and here we are. So absolutely loving it, mate.
Oh, good little journey, and yes, good as time any for a change. COVID, I think that's when a lot of people started the change, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Cool.
It was a great time to, I guess, sit down and work out what I really wanted to do. I'd always been interested in real estate, and I guess a fun fact would be that as I left school, I actually looked to explore maybe becoming a real estate agent, and quickly worked out that's probably not a great fit for me and my sort of personality. So anyway, funnily enough, 6 years later, ended up entering the industry as a broker. It all sort of come about because I've always been so interested in property.
Oh, great. And you can use that knowledge as well. But, if you were a real estate agent, you wouldn't be playing footy either, right? You have to be at open
Well,
nose
exactly.
on Saturday.
And that was one of the main reasons why I didn't, to be honest, mate.
Good reason. Good reason.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you've obviously been a first home buyer as well, but let's take example a first home buyer that you normally deal with. What is your recommendation for them? Like, when do you suggest they start approaching someone like yourself who specialises in the first home buyer space? When?
Yeah, when to start the conversation.
Yeah.
So, mate, I'd recommend as soon as you've got any sort of ambition to enter the property market, start that conversation. Go have a chat with a broker, because you actually don't know where you're at, where you stand in terms of like borrowing capacity. Have you got enough deposit? All these sort of things that we look at in assessing you for a home loan. You're sort of guessing, so you don't know what you don't know. Brokers are free. Like, we don't charge you a fee to come and have a conversation with us.
Yep.
I like to think of us as your property coach. So no matter where you are in the journey, I think having a conversation and at least working out where you're at and what you need to do to get to where you want to be. So that's a lot of our job is having that initial conversation and then setting a goal and a plan for clients to then work towards.
Yeah, so that's strategic, bespoke advice tailored to yourself, which is what I pretty much covered off in podcast 3 about what does a broker do and why use a broker, and especially a specialist like yourself comes in really handy.
Yeah,
mate, look, I'm no expert at first home buyers. I know enough, right? I know enough to get by, but. The landscape keeps changing every time there's a new scheme. Like, when I first started lending, there was only one scheme, which was your first home buyer's grant. Right? Now there's all these different government schemes, right? Do you want to just run through a couple of the key government schemes that you use? I think obviously the first home buyer's grant. Let's just start with that.
Yep.
What is that?
Yeah.
And how do people access? What are the qualifications for it?
Yeah, you're right in saying that there are so many different schemes and stuff to keep on top of. So and look, that's why going to a specialist is going to help get you the best deal and make sure you're getting the most out of the incentives, because you can only have them once. So, but in regards to your question, the first homeowners grant, it was 15,000.
Yep.
So that recently got doubled to 30.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that would have been towards the end of last year. So it is in effect now, I think to about 2025 from memory. So with the first homeowners grant, it's only for brand new property never been lived in, or if you're going to build your first home.
Okay, yep.
So a lot of people can get confused and think that you can use it for an existing property. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So
that's the 30 grand, right?
You're correct.
Yep.
I mean, it's a great initiative, and it's there to entice people to build more property, which obviously in Queensland and across Australia there's not a lot of.
No, shortage, right? And what's the max? Is there a limit that you can build or buy brand new for?
Yeah, so total value across the land and the build portion is 750,000 in Queensland. So look, there's house and land packages that I'm seeing that are around the 600,000 mark. That's probably an entry for a house on a block of land. Obviously you could look at like a townhouse or maybe an off the plan apartment that would be cheaper. But yeah, sort of 600,000 mark, and you'd be looking in the areas of like your Logans, Morayfield, Caboolture.
Yep. Which is still pretty good pockets as well, right? They're growth areas.
Yep.
And I know my personal preference is to get the land, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's your first time, and like you just said, you only get one shot,
Yep.
right? So why not try approach someone that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone. Get yourself on the property ladder.
Yep.
Get that land because that's what's going to appreciate more over time, as we've seen over the last however many years. And it doesn't have to be a forever home.
Is there any limitations? Do you have to be a citizen or a permanent resident to get that 30,000?
Yep. So one of the applicants needs to be either an Australian citizen or a permanent resident.
Okay, great. Yep.
Yeah.
And there's that scheme, but then there's another scheme. What's it called? Is it the first home guarantee scheme?
Yeah, correct, mate. Yep.
Can you combine the two?
Yes, you can. Yeah, so you can actually use the 30K and then the first home guarantee scheme. A lot of people probably haven't heard about it. It is an absolute ripper of a scheme, and it's one that I'm helping a lot of first home buyers get into the market with.
Yep.
So essentially, what it is, it's a minimum 5% deposit that you need. And the government basically goes guarantor for you or provide the remaining security to make up 20% so that you don't pay any lender's mortgage insurance, which is going to save you on a $500,000 purchase, could save you up to about $17,000 in mortgage insurance. Yep. And so I guess the pros to it is save on mortgage insurance. You actually get access to a cheaper interest rate, because the bank looks at you as if you had the 20% deposit.
Okay. That's as opposed to you're lending at 95, but you're getting an 80% rate.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, right.
Yep,
okay,
yep. So that can be a difference of almost 1%, which is a lot on a $500,000 loan, right? Yep. They're the main pros. So criteria for that, you need to be an Australian citizen or permanent resident.
Yep.
And then single income threshold is $125,000 per year. So that works off the previous financial year. So you actually have to have your tax return done, have a notice of assessment from the ATO. Income can't be over 125 as a single, and then 200,000 for a couple. Yep. So it's open to singles, couples. It's actually open to siblings that want to buy together, and also friends as well.
Okay, great. And you mentioned that in the first home buyer, there was a cap of 750,000 that you matched. Is there a cap for, let's say I'm buying in Logan, Morayfield or Caboolture?
Yep.
Is there a cap? What's the cap for that one?
Yeah, there is. So in metro areas, so like Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, the cap is 700,000.
Yep.
So obviously can't purchase above that. It's still, I think, a good level. Like you can still purchase a house in some areas. As a lot of first home buyers that I'm seeing at the moment can't quite afford to spend the full 700 or even over that. So you're looking at like a townhouse or an apartment.
Yep.
Which I'm seeing be picked up from 350,000 to easily 700.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So on your scenario that you just used before, you use a 600,000 house and land package, or whatever you guys want to call it.
Yep.
You're going to be able to hopefully qualify for the 30,000.
Yes.
You're going to then save, because you're under the 700 for this.
Yep.
You're going to save, let's call it anywhere from $13,000 to $17,000.
Yep.
And you're still going to get an 80% rate.
Yeah, correct.
So realistically, you've just saved $47,000 minimum without the rate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
I don't think a lot of people know. That's the education piece, right?
Yeah,
there's
correct.
not a lot of people know about that.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, mate, like I was saying, it's one that I'm helping a lot of people get into the market with, and it's an absolute no-brainer in my eyes, given the pros to the idea.
Yeah.
It's important. Like, not all banks actually are on this scheme. There are some really good ones on there.
Yep.
Not all banks are going to participate on the scheme. Some do it a lot better than others. So that's where I guess talking to a broker that deals in that space a lot is going to help get you the best deal.
Yeah, because there are different types of properties. Obviously, the first home guarantee scheme is not just for new houses; it's also for existing. So you could qualify for either or both, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So those are two really good schemes. But then there's also, if you don't qualify for either of those, is there another? I've seen there's some stamp duty concessions that you could potentially take advantage of.
Yep.
Especially if you're not a Australian permanent resident, or a citizen?
Yep. So again, this one can be combined with both of those other schemes and initiatives that we just mentioned. So, so there's a stamp duty waiver and concession. So buying an existing property in Queensland up to 500,000, don't pay any stamp duty at all. So that's a savings of about $9,000.
Okay.
So that's a nice little kicker. And then also between 500,000 and 550,000, you don't pay as much stamp duty, so you get some concession. And then on vacant land up to 250,000, don't pay any stamp duty. And then between 250 and 400,000, you get some concession, so you don't pay as much.
Okay, right, yeah. So you basically, if you purchase a block of land for about 250,000, you're obviously paying the investment rate anyway on the stamp duty. That's a massive saving.
Yeah,
That's close to what? That's about $6,000 or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Every little bit helps, right?
So if we combine it, you've got 30,000, potentially, let's call it 15. Let's go on the middle between 13 and 17, go 15.
Yep.
So what's that? That's 45,000 plus potentially another $6,000.
Yeah.
So it's 50,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it certainly helps people get into the market, right? And it's hard to save. Like, given the way that rents are at the moment, if you're renting, you're not living at home. Like, it's really tough to save on top of renting. So, these initiatives, if you can combine them, is going to be a great way to get in.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's an absolute. That blows my mind. I mean, I've been in the industry for a while. I mean, again, I'm not so much in that first home buyer space, but you've just given me another bit of education that we can sort of take out there.
Yeah.
I knew it was there. Just when you just explained it, it just seemed so. It's a no-brainer just to come and speak to a specialist.
Yeah, correct. Yep. And also, I probably should have mentioned as well, with the first home guarantee scheme, there is also another element to that. So there is the family home guarantee scheme. So there's for single parents.
Okay.
And they can actually get in with as little as 2% deposit plus costs. So things like your stamp duty and legals, etc.
Yep.
So that's available for first home buyers also. That could be a single parent. And can get in with even less of a deposit. The government still guarantees the rest. You don't pay mortgage insurance. Still get access to an 80% LVR rate.
Yep.
So that's another great initiative.
Well, that's quite an alignment with what I'm trying to do. Like, that's empowering financial legacies, right?
Yep.
For generations. So that single parent who potentially would struggle to get that deposit can now, but can afford to buy the property. They can afford it. They just can't get the deposit because, for obvious other reason, the expenditure is quite high.
Yep.
Can get into a house.
Yeah.
Rather than rent.
Yep. And I've also had cases where they've had a gift from family.
Yep.
So banks can consider that as long as it's non-repayable and you cover off on whatever the bank's requirements are to evidence that.
Yep.
But you can theoretically have a 5% deposit gifted to you, or a 2% from family. And then what we can do in cases where the bank wants to see genuine savings, which they all want to do when you're putting in a small deposit, we can actually evidence to them that if you are actually renting and it's through an agency, we can use a rental ledger of 3 to 6 months worth to be like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they've been renting, making their payments on time. This is good evidence to show that they can actually, commit to something and save and whatnot. So that there can be used if you're being gifted a deposit to help get into the market as well.
Well, that's always handy to know as well. Again, that's a little idiosyncrasy that you wouldn't really generally know, and your everyday lender may not even know how to use and get around that. So obviously another reason why to come and see an expert like yourself, or why use a broker, right? Different policies, different lenders. Just touching base back with that, with the guarantee scheme, and let's say you've got more than a 5% deposit, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that, pretty much it's like when you're building a property, the bank expects you to use your money first.
Yes.
Is that the same?
Yeah, so obviously the government's guaranteeing the loan for you, so they do want you to contribute as much of your own deposit as possible. So General rule of thumb, it's probably about 15 to 25 grand you can hold back that I've seen in the past. So that there's obviously going to help with your moving costs and having a bit of a nest egg or emergency fund, which is important to have left over. If you've got the luxury of having more deposit on top of the 5%, a lot of people don't, but that can certainly happen. Yeah,
and I guess it's about you as the broker understanding, hey, you've got this deposit, what are you actually using for, and then presenting that scenario to the lender for approval, right?
Correct.
Wording it in the right way.
Yeah. Storytelling, and that's important in our job to make sure it's dressed up correctly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really good. Now, this is the topic the question I really wanted to ask and understand more about.
Yeah.
Your big things around education. My piece is around education. You said there was a distinct lack of education in the first-time buyer space. Now, you have a first-time buyers group. Can you tell me a little bit about it? What is it called? Why did you start it?
Yep.
And how can a first-home buyer get education, but also educate and empower themselves?
So, I am, like you said, very passionate in this space. So what I did was created a first home buyers club on Facebook. Is that what it's called? So it's actually called First Home Buyers Club Queensland. Okay. So if you search that on Facebook, you'll be able to find it. So basically, I wanted to create a safe space for first home buyers to go on there, access relative content that is educational, and also have access to people that are involved in the property buying process. So in there, I've actually got some people that I've worked with over a number of years now in my circle that I know and trust. They're tried and tested. So I've got some building and pest inspectors in there, conveyancers, buyers agents. There's a couple of sales agents in there, and obviously brokers as well. So I wanted to have them in there for first home buyers if they ever have any questions along the way. Like with the first home buyer, I know you don't deal with many, but I'm sure you had them in the past where they have a lot of questions and can sometimes feel like they're a silly question or they're annoying you because they're asking these questions, which they don't. Like for me, I'd rather answer any questions that they've got and make them feel comfortable about the process and informed. So in there, they can just ask, whatever questions they have regarding the process. It could be, I've had a building and pest inspection report come back. It's flagged this. Like, what are your thoughts on it? That could be a particular question, or questions about the market in Brisbane or Gold Coast or whatever. Buyers agents can chime in on what their thoughts are. So it's just a safe space. It's not. It's just an educational platform, which I'm really passionate about, and it's been doing really well.
Yeah, you ticked over 100. Is it 100?
Yeah, so I only started at the end of last year. I think there's about 120, 130 members in there now, which is great. So, obviously it's a little bit of extra, work from my end to have the group in there, but it's something that it's not a chore for me, given I'm so passionate about the space itself. So, any extra education or wisdom I can pass on to first home buyers, that's a win in my books.
And you can speak from your own experience, right? Obviously, just recently being purchased, moving in, you're doing your renos, and you would have probably held some money back to do that because you would have seen that, and you probably would have taken advantage of a couple of schemes if you could as well, right?
Yeah, so definitely.
It always pays to, again, like I said, get the education, know what's out there in that safe environment. But that's really cool. That's one of the things that we don't really see too much about, but also you getting in there and being hands-on makes the difference, I feel. Yeah, and you've got to be, because it's a big decision. It's a big debt against you moving forward, which could be for the next 30 years. But our job's to help you pay that off a lot sooner. And obviously, if we can help create further wealth through property, then we will. So having that guidance there is important. It's the start of your financial journey. You're leaving starting your legacy, right? So
exactly.
Start it off strong, get the right advice, and move forward from there.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. Well, mate, there's lots of information, out there, and I know we haven't covered off on all the different schemes and things like that, but I do really appreciate your time and coming in and giving us a little bit about what you do and how you do it.
Yeah.
So Mate, again, thanks for coming in. Valuable information. I really hope people can take something away that they've learned. I know I've learned a couple of things, or maybe relearned a couple of things that I can have a conversation or better conversation about, especially around the grants and how you can combine all the grants. Because, yeah, I did know that, but not as in-depth as what you've just said.
Yeah.
But, mate, if they want to get in touch with you, how do we get in touch with you? It's time to
give myself
plug
a
yourself.
shameless plug. No, look, again, I'll highlight the fact that that first home buyers group in there, I'm quite active in putting educational content in there around the specific schemes. There's some information in there about some schemes that I haven't mentioned today. Definitely get on board, have a look at that. There's no pressure. You just go in there and have a look, get as much info as you need. And then if you would like to connect with me on a social level, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the
socials,
above.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, it's just Luke Ashby Mortgage Broker, and same with TikTok and the other platforms. So
great.
Yeah.
So everyone, as you know, I don't have ads. I don't pay for any ads, and all I ask is if you've learned something from today, share it. Also, follow Luke, follow myself, support small business. It's completely free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's literally a click of the finger. And don't forget, you can follow myself on Instagram, Dion Finance Specialist. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at Finance This Property That. You can watch this full video on YouTube and listen to it in your car on your way to work on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget, follow Luke on Instagram at Luke Ashby Mortgage Broker, and on Facebook for the First Home Buyers Club Queensland. Give him a follow. He also loves a good TikTok, so jump over on the TikTok. They're not too bad. I do like to give him a bit of crap. But again, thank you for joining us on this episode. I'll Finance This Property That. We look forward to you joining us again in empowering yourself to create your own financial legacies on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.